to the best family here on YouTube. As you all know, that's our opinion here at Carrie or Barry. You're our E.D.C family. I'm your host, as always, Prophet, and with me, as always, is the Professor. And we thank you for joining us for another E.D.C video. Today, we will be reviewing a very special item, as you can see. To many of us across the galaxy, whether you've seen one in action yourself, heard stories, or even seen one in action on the news, this item we have today is synonymous with order and with the Jedi. Unfortunately, it also can be synonymous with the dark side users as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We have, as you can see in front of us, a lightsaber for review. Now, depending on your planet, this can also be known as a laser sword or a space sword. It doesn't matter. Whatever you call it, whatever your grandparents called it, doesn't really matter. It's a lightsaber. And without further ado, let's get into our at Carrier Barry review. So, our E.D.C family, may the 4th be with you all. Oh, man. Forgive me. I mean, may the Force be with you all. Don't know where that came from. So today is our homage to, as you can see, the Star Wars, or various wars and the stars, and all its heroes, fallen and alive. Now, as you all know, this channel being so new, we purchase everything for ourselves for our reviews. That means that this item that you see in front of you is no different. Now, at our young age here in the YouTube universe, paying for a lightsaber was no small task. Finding one without the black market or the Han market is difficult, right? It becomes super difficult. It isn't like we can go to the droid store and pick one of these up. When you do find one, the prices kind of range depending on the model, who its previous owner was, can it be attuned to you, yada yada yada, or yoda yoda yoda. The crystal, okay, as you can see here, we have a little kyber crystal here. The crystal, or crystals, we have one here, one little kyber crystal. Those obviously need to be found, mined. The Force has to be poured into them. It's a big deal. For average folks to pick one of these up, it becomes super difficult. You can be looking at anywhere from, 8,000 to well over 500,000 credits. That's why we had to have a little bit of delay on releasing content for you in the past few weeks. Or, for some of you with longer days or rotations around your sun, it could even have been longer for you. We hope that seeing what we have inquired here in front of you has given you guys some new hope. In our channel. And we can be reviewers of anything E.D.C. Now, not just us fellow humans, but all races and creeds of every kind, even you fellow droids out there, all of you spread throughout the galaxy and even beyond, I'm sure, have been wanting to see a real honest-to-goodness review on a lightsaber. Well, look no further. Here it is. I'm going to turn this middle light off that we have, giving you an internal look at our kyber crystal. There's really no need for that. You can see the crystal just fine here. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as we move on here. Again, for today, we are celebrating our Jedi heroes today, fallen or still alive, doesn't really matter. We also realize that this transition, it kind of is being bounced all over. I'm not sure how you're getting it. But remember, if this transition happens to be picked up by the Galactic Empire, or those of you who now call it the First Order, or anyone working with the Sith or any dark users of the Force, we will do our best to keep this fight going, bringing you content like this, making sure you know that the Force is still strong in the universe. And if we do happen to perish after this post, please share, make a holocron, anything you can to help out. We are absolutely at your beck and call for anything you need review-wise. And we hope that if we need our message spread out even more throughout the galaxy to the Outer Rim, we know that we have help. So with that out of the way, we hope that whether you're near the center of the deep core, perhaps hailing from Coruscant or Hassinian Prime or even Biss, or perhaps you're located in the Belkadan, in the far reaches of the galactic north. You could also be living in the deep south of the galaxy, like Dagobah or even beyond. For those of you in the west side of the galaxy, near the inner rim, like Yaki, or maybe you're in the outer rim. Maybe you're in the Ramayana Prime, all the way to the far east of the galaxy, perhaps Cassie or Teth. No matter to us, because even if you're in wild space, picking this up while you're in transit, we absolutely appreciate your love and the support here at Carrier Barry, and we thank you, our galactic E.D.C. family. A little bit of news we want to get out of the way. We are really getting close to 100 subscribers, and once we do, we will be doing a giveaway. We'll be giving away a knife, we'll be giving away a hanky, and we'll be giving away a flashlight. Or to our brothers and sisters overseas, across the pond, you may call it a torch. Either way, we're giving one away, and we are looking forward to doing that. With that in mind, once we hit 100 subscribers, and we've been there, get a couple over, in fact, what we'll do is we'll make a video giving you the details on how that giveaway will work. We absolutely wish we had something to give to each and every one of you who have helped this small channel start to grow. We will do lots more stuff like this in the future, so we really do hope that you watch and keep sharing and keep helping this little channel grow. All right, folks, with all that being out of the way, let's together dive into today's review and see if this light sword, or lightsaber as we call it, is going to make the cut in our recommendation for your E.D.C. lineup. Or will it fizzle out and become another buried piece of tech? So, who is the owner? Who chose the name lightsaber? Where did all this come from? I'm sure you have a lot of questions. So do we. We were able to find some wonderful sources on the internet here, and we will share some of those sources in the description. But keep in mind, we are not experts, and we are going to try our best to make some of those experts, maybe not proud, that's probably a bad word, but we'll try our best to at least make them not cringe too much. So the lightsaber, well, it was difficult for us to find out the origins really, or the history, or who owns any of it. What we do know for sure is from the very beginning of canon. It's a canon. Oh, sorry, my producer asked me what the little pirate on my desk was holding. Yes, it's canon. Where was I? I digress. Oh, yes. There has not been a name attached to this piece of tech. However, I do know that there are patents have been made at, for instance, the Universal Patent Outpost. That patent was filed originally. It was either done by a company or a planet, maybe. It's really hard for us to find out. Either way, the name on the patent is Lucas. As far as I can tell, it's still attached at some way to this tech to this very day. There is also a lot of paperwork that happened not long ago, and it doesn't have any ancient stamps on it or anything like that, but there is a rune carved on it, and it's really interesting, folks. I think the easiest way that we can kind of show you this is to kind of show you what we found. I'm going to grab some galactic paper here, and I'm just going to crudely draw out for you. I'm sure you can hear me looking for a blank page. Preparedness, right, Prophet? So on this rune that we found, there is a circle, right? And then it has a couple of these circles, kind of like this. Doesn't it almost look something like a little mouse? It's kind of cute, right? So that's the rune mark of the transfer of ownership of this patent that we were able to find. And we did find a name attached to that as well, and I'm not sure if we're pronouncing it correctly. It might be Disney or Disney or Disney. It's hard to say exactly, but we did trace that rune to an actual planet, and that planet is known as, again, I'm not sure how to say it right, but you heard me just try and hopefully didn't fail too hard. That's as far as we could find out on this channel. Okay, so that's the owner or owners, or at least the proposed owners of this technology as far as the patent filing goes. But let's be real, guys, that does not stop many folks out there from building one, especially Force-sensitive folks. Because, I mean, hey, who's really going to stop them, right? I mean, definitely ain't going to be me. I have about this much Force sensitivity in me. It's very, very low. I'm definitely not going to be a Jedi anytime soon, I'll tell you that. Well, Now, we don't know everything, like we were saying, we're not an expert, but for sure what we do know is that this whole process has started thousands of years ago. Approximately 25,000 BBY, again, approximately. So this is way before the Great War in Yavin, and this is something that wasn't even started by the actual order that we know today as the Jedi. It was the Jedi. It was the Jedi Order who started playing with technology. Now, their technology was more actual steel or metals, okay? And what they would do is they would find a crystal and they would attune the crystal to the sword, and they would give it all of their power, and they would meditate and give it everything they can. The process actually was quite dangerous. And they would end up fusing the powers of the crystal to the actual metal, forming a lattice. And that actually gave the user power, it gave the user strength. It was a really wonderful deal for them. But again, these were still heavy blades. They were still actual pieces of hard steel and metal. And the process was very long, laborious, and dangerous. So that's kind of where all this started from what we've been able to find out here on the channel. So what happens is, like anything that has a really good idea, is it starts to evolve. At some point, and forgive me folks if I'm wrong in any of this, I'm sure you'll tell me in the comments, but from what we were able to pull up here on the channel is that after these actual metal swords were infused with crystals, there was a lot over the years of movement, if you will. And what had happened is everyone from the Great Jedi Order, all the way to the Sith, unfortunately, we have to give them credit, even the Dark Jedi had made huge contributions over the years to get us to where we're at today, to get us to the lightsabers that we see out there on the internet. We see the heroes using them. We see them in the actual battles on the news. So there was a lot that went into that before it got to this point. Let's try to simplify this a little bit. We're not going to get into the whole history here. There's a lot, and I mean a lot. And again, we'll link some really great places in the description of the channel to help you. But kind of simplify it, a lightsaber is an E.D.C tool, right? It can be a weapon. It's used as a weapon. It's used as self-defense. It is also a weapon of peace. A lot of people think about it. They look at it as a Jedi weapon, as a Jedi tool. And believe me, this was and is E.D.C tools for Jedi's past, present, and future. It does consist of a blade, but not a steel blade like they used to. The blade now is a blade made of plasma. Yeah, plasma. So, like the sun. And, some of you folks are on a planet that don't have a sun, but for those that are, these are huge gases of plasma, and they heat many planets in your galaxy. Some of them too hot, some of them they don't heat too much because of how far away they are. But either way, it is controlled by a sun or suns in some of your planets. So the plasma gets controlled and powered into a blade shape. Yeah. And how does this happen? Largely, guys, it's due to the Force. Again, thousands of years of technological advancements has helped. We just said that. There's also maybe a splash of bonding, right, with a crystal or two even. But overall, it's the Force. And what is the Force? Is it just some kind of weird containment field? Well, it is that. The Force is used as a containment field, and it protects the owner from the immense heat and the crazy power of the plasma blade, and thus it gives it its shape, right? The hilt, which we'll assemble here shortly, hopefully, right, is almost always different. Each owner or wielder made it specifically to their desires and needs. The one thing we do see throughout the development is when one of these is constructed, they usually have similarities or homages to specific makers' masters. You will see a lot of people like to show their love and respect for their master, and they will have a lot of similarities that their master may have had on their lightsaber. But when this tool passes on or ownership changes, right, like in this instance, does that mean anyone can just pick it up and use it? I mean, plasma is pretty much, it's a gas, right? It's weightless. Well, sort of. Guys, the energy that both gets emitted and contained makes a pretty large effect. You can call it what you will, a gyroscopic effect of electromagnetic waves. which can work with or against gravity. So although it doesn't have weight per se, there is a huge amount of force, of energy consumed around this blade, if you will. Okay, and it takes someone who does have strength to wield something like this, absolutely. Now they make versions, for Padawans and for people for training, but for the most part, you need to look at all these as it can be a very dangerous and difficult to use weapon. And almost always you're going to want to have some sort of force ability to use it to its potential. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But just be careful. Usually untrained people can get hurt or even worse. So for all you kids out there that are listening and who have grown up idolizing the Jedi, hopefully, and wanting to get one of these wonderful tools, be careful, okay? It may not be something for you. You need to use the Force properly, and you need to be attuned to the Force with your saber to be able to use it properly. A few minutes ago, I asked what the Force was, and I kind of skipped over it, right? So I'll say this to try to give it some justification. Many of you have seen the Force in use before. Others have heard stories or seen video of its power in some users or wielders. The Force can be used by individuals from all kinds of different races and creeds, many different species. You may in fact know a Force-sensitive individual and not even know it. I digress again. The Force is a mysterious energy field created by life itself and maybe death, right? It's the balance of energy. It balances, binds the galaxy together. Those who become sensitive to it can tap into it, which is pretty cool if you think about it. So by tapping into this spiritual energy, it takes different degrees of attunement and skill, thus giving the user abilities such as levitating objects. Ooh, I don't have any strings on this. No strings. Okay, I know I keep getting off topic. I'm a giant child, forgive me. So even with the different degrees of skill, it will give the user levitating objects. The user may have being able to move through gravity at will. The user may see things before it happens. A Force-sensitive individual could even control the minds of non-Force-sensitive users. There's much more that could be obtained and learned by the Force. We're not going to get into that too much, okay, because it's A, not our place, and B, this is something that only someone who has studied the Force for a long time should tell you. We also are not going to get too much into the first prototypes of this tool. We talked a little bit about the very first ones. Let's just say before we got to this finished product here, holocrons were stored and hidden all across the universe that showed how different Force sabers were, a mix of metal and Force energy, to giant power packs with cords that had to be held on the user's belt. I think those were more ceremonious, so we're not going to get too much into those. But can you imagine fighting with your lightsaber, but every time you hit or cut something, it would expend so much energy that it would be almost completely dead of charge after just a few minutes of use? It's pretty hard to imagine with what we have today. Now, obviously, there are other attempts at blending the Force with tools or weapons. We at Carrier Berry honestly don't have access to all these holocrons, or to be honest, any of these holocrons. So we also don't have firsthand accounts. What we can say is that about 4,500 BBY is where we started to see lighter products. We'd actually seen the biggest breakthrough in the technology happen where they were able to optimize the plasma inside. And what happened is they were able to, instead of, freezing lasers or making metal with swords and fusing the crystals to those, they were able to finally figure out a way to be able to arc the plasma back to the actual source. That was a gigantic leap in technology for lightsabers. So obviously there were still power flaws when they first were playing with this, but users actually had a power source that was no longer able to be connected to their belt, to the handle of the lightsaber. So it went from mostly ceremonial walking around as your Jedi with your power pack on, being super ceremonial, not really able to protect or wield it for too long if you had to. This advancement made that the belt pack was no longer needed. So this was all opted out for what you see now, modified cells, okay, located in the actual hilt. You see some wires and stuff happening here. So that's kind of what happened. Then they built an internal superconductor, which was then introduced. So what happens, as well as then transferring, it also returned the loop energy from the negative charge. So the negative charge of the flux aperture got sent back to the internal power cell. So after they were able to make it so when something was struck or cut, it would not immediately drain all the power, and the loop cycle coupled with the advancement in tech, which allowed this to be a completely fully functional, modular, take anywhere tool, E.D.C tool. This also led to more advancements, leading to the first double-sided sabers, leading to sabers that actually could expel and contract their plasma beam on command. Sabers that, with the use of another crystal, can be used underwater without having to have any modifications, or forgive me, without having to fix it after you try using underwater. Pretty cool stuff. We've talked about what we can with the process here, and so I think the best thing we can do now is get into the actual carrier berry portion of our video. So if you've been watching us and listening to me ramble, and hopefully I've gotten a few facts correct, if not, again, my intention is not to upset anyone. I did the best I could to research what I could. Again, we don't have access to holocrons. Where we are in the galaxy, we're not super close to a lot of fighting or a lot of Jedi outposts or anything like that. So I do want to apologize. I hope we were able to get some information correct for you folks. But now what we're going to do, I'm going to do my best to meditate here and get all of this put together for you. I'm going to see if we can make that happen, okay? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, that's not working. Let me try. Maybe I'll meditate with one hand. Come on. Okay. Oh, I'm feeling something. Now again, folks, my force is not exactly what you would call an amazing force. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh. Wow. Looks like we did it, folks. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm not very good at it, but we did it. So let's put the power switch on, and let's get everything nice and tight. Woo! There she is, ladies and gentlemen. There she is. Power cell, everything is in there. We're ready to go. So let's get into our at Carrier Berry review. And as always, we start first with the positives, which we call the needs. And don't worry, we'll turn this on here in a moment and let you folks see the potential here. I just don't want to destroy my area or anything like that here in the studio. So kind of one of the things that we felt was the first positive was the bonding character. See, the crystal inside here that we just seen actually right in this area here, the crystals are partially alive and they bond. They absolutely do bond with their maker, especially if you're force sensitive. Well, only if you're force sensitive, right? Which gives the maker of the lightsaber or light sword or space sword, however you want to call it, basically it gives that user unique abilities or enhanced powers. And honestly, if they're the only ones lucky enough to bond with the crystal inside, then some of the things that they're able to do can be pretty phenomenal. And that's kind of the heroes that we see and the heroes that we respect here on the channel. Number two, we talked a lot about this one, the advancements. So what started out as a majority metal sword that was infused with force crystals, and it really gained a lattice through the blade, if you will, which helped the user bond with it, that were really dangerous to do, as we talked about earlier. And then the advancements started getting better and better. Obviously now making a blade of pure energy, which is super cool. But it wasn't always easy, right? They had the large power cells attached to a cord, which made these more ceremonial than really anything that could be used in battle or for protection. And then to what we see today, right? We see something on someone who's barely got any, really, to be honest, barely has any force inside of them. But I was able to, under some pretty heavy meditation, get this thing up and running. Wow, we don't know yet, right, if it's up and running. But at least put it together here a little bit for you guys. And we're going to kind of see what that does. But, you know, the second need is definitely the advancements. So we've seen a lot of advancements. And obviously I've got big hands. So for me, this one is one that I was looking for, something that I could really grab onto. But they make lightsabers with a lot thinner hilts because the power cores inside can be a lot smaller. Again, a lot of different varieties. And regardless, these lightsabers, they've been a weapon for many thousands of years now. They've been a symbol of peace for many thousands of years. And that's thanks to all the advancements that we've seen. All right. The third need on this one, okay? Fighting forms. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, so it is important for us to note that there are 7 forms that are really, I guess, approved, I guess would be some of the, and again, remember, we're not experts on this here on the channel. We know that there are 7 approved lightsaber fighting forms, okay? And the reason that we put this as a need, because not only have we gotten a tool out of this, but on what we have to realize is that through the galaxy, through the users over the ages, have perfected beautiful art and beautiful ways to use these as combat, use these as, you know, something that can be really dual purposed. I mean, this is more than just ceremonial these days. This is something that you can fight off blaster attacks. You can get into almost anything by cutting through metal, or Lord knows, if you've got someone held up or holed up somewhere, you can get to them if you need to save them. I mean, it's uncanny, but with the forms, you get something a little bit more artful and a little bit more beautiful. Okay, so again, the form 1 is called Shicho, and this is the oldest form of lightsaber combat. It's basically a pretty simple style, balances like traditional movers that are more intent on maiming and killing with more of a focus on disarming, okay? So basically it wants to disarm the foe and it wants to maim. It's really good against multiple opponents. It was a popular form among lots of Padawans in the Jedi Order. Form 2, Makashi, or Makashai, and again, forgive me if I'm butchering these names, that is not what I'm trying to do. This is more a style that's very, very graceful, very elegant. It has kind of a ballet type approach in wielding the lightsaber. It's more notable for its primary focus on facing a single opponent. And it helps by preventing someone to getting your lightsaber out of your hands. It's very quick, has very precise strikes. It's a very beautiful form. You know, it's something that it's absolutely perfect. Form 3 is going to be known Soresu. It's a defensive style that really has a lot of controlled movements. It's got strict actions. So a lot of people and a lot of races that practice this form, they focus on defense, basically in any situation. They're committed to analyzing their opponents, figuring out what openings they can create, and then often really their goal is to slow down the opponent, tire them out, frustrate them, and that's really what they're trying to do. The 4th form is known as Ataru. It's an acrobatic and super aggressive lightsaber combat style. It places a very big emphasis on utilizing the Force. It enhances your movements, in all areas, not alone combat, right? It will absolutely enhance that, but it's going to give you room from all directions to attack because of the nature that it has. This is considered a demanding fighting style. Not just physically, but because it's using so much force, you're also mentally and your energy can be drained. It's something you got to be really careful with. Form 5 is known as Xian or Demso. This one has 2 fluid disciplines, okay? They're basically considered super physically demanding. So they have a requirement of quick transitions from dedicated defensive stances to all-out attacks. So again, if you heard me when I said Form 5 here, there's the 2. There's the Xian and the Jimso. The Xian variant emphasizes blaster redirections. Practicers of this could really get into like a reverse blade grip almost, like you see with the Karambit. And then moving to the Demso variant, that more teaches maneuvers to saber combat, and then it mixes in some blaster deflection. So you're getting 2 fighting styles with this form, which is really beautiful and unique. Form 6 here, we have Neiman, and this is considered the most popular form, so especially amongst Jedis. Balances qualities presented in all of the other forms, but really it's not incorporating any notable strengths, so it's super less demanding than the other previous combat styles. It's, basically a very good balance of offense and defense, leaning more towards defense almost, and really getting that extensive integration of force powers built in with your movements. Very, very nice on that one. So again, that was Form 6, okay, and that form was Neiman. Form 7, okay, is another 2-part form. So that's the Uo or the Vapid form, and this is considered the most aggressive and unpredictable form. So basically, you need to be a Jedi Master or somebody who has that type of experience to really yield this correctly, because the history of the Jedi High Council forbidding it and later allowing it only to select members and users to practice this style, it was considered both physically and emotionally exhausting. And the Uo variant focused on aggressive assault and a mindset that drew upon anger and negative emotions to fuel the relentless assault. And this caused a lot of Jedis to fall to the dark side of the Force, or close to it. In the Vapid variant, developed by Mace Windu, he simply drew upon his anger and passion, but required him to not give in to them. So kind of gave him that he was able to draw energy from it, but not give into it. So it wasn't as reckless as the Uo form portion of it. There is an 8th form that we won't speak too much of it. It's called Jarkai. And that is more of a Sith form. It's the method of using 2 lightsabers during combat. Whether they be single or double blades, doesn't really matter. And it also can either have one working at one time, the other working at the other time, giving psychological or technological advances, or making it more capable to fake somebody out with a movement. And so that's kind of the 7 that are practiced, and then the 8th that's kind of looked down upon. All right, so let's kind of do a quick recap. Our number 1 need was talking about bonding with the crystal and the lightsaber. Number 2 was the advancements to get us to where we're at today. Number 3 was the 7 fighting forms, well, 8 technically, that we talked about a little bit. And the 4th need is actually going to be versatility. And I know what you're going to say. Didn't you just talk about fighting forms that are versatile? Well, remember, not everybody learns the fighting forms. That's something that comes with a lot of practice and a lot of force use. And there are instances where these can be picked up and used by non-force users. Albeit it may be a little bit difficult from time to time, but it can be done. What we want to tell you is versatility means there are no need for other E.D.C tools. You want a flashlight? You've got your flashlight. Well, if you're force sensitive, you're going to be able to see pretty well in the dark or underwater anyway. But there's just not need for a lot of other E.D.C things. I mean, sure, you could carry a pen if you need to. That's always fun, or maybe a pocket piece. But really, you don't need to carry a gun or a blaster or anything like that. This can deflect blasters. This can do everything you need it to do. Versatility is absolutely 100% going to have to make the top 4 right there. And with that, we know if we have 4 needs, we actually stop and we move over to the negatives, and which we do have, folks. Okay, so the first negative, and on our channel we use the word nails for this. So the first nail, okay, the first nail, these are dangerous. I have not even really turned this on here on the table because if I do, a plasma beam is going to shoot out. The heat's going to affect my equipment. It's going to be pretty messy. Putting it together was messy. I had stuff flying all over. I mean, it's not something where I'm not a fantastic meditator. So this was not fun. In fact, I kind of screwed it tightened down by hand the last few instances of it. Obviously, you can get training lightsabers, which are a lot more user-friendly, but anytime you pick one of these up, you should realize how dangerous it is. And there is a chance, if you don't have any force sensitivity, that this could maim or kill you. Dangerous. That is the first nail. Is there a second negative on this? Yeah, there is. Folks, the second nail is lightsaber pirates, galaxy pirates. Pirates, you name it, whether they're members of the Hutt or whatever, there are pirates in this, absolutely 100%. They're going after Jedi. They're paying crazy money to get the crystals inside. They're paying money to get these and then selling them on the open market. Like we talked about earlier, you're going to pay easily over 25,000 credits to get a decent one of these, and up to 500,000 credits. I'm going to be honest with you, it almost broke this channel getting one of these. And Lord only knows how often I'll be able to use something like this. You know, and again, whenever you're dealing with the secondhand market, prices skyrocket. So that is 100% going to be the second nail. Oh, you heard him, Professor. That's a third nail. A third nail. Resource mining, folks. This is a big one. We're gonna break this down a little bit again here, just because I think it's super important for us to talk about. Oh, almost turned it on there. You gotta be careful, huh? This little guy right here, that little gem, this Kyber crystal right here, you know, this is a resource. Whether it's Ilum or wherever, these are being mined across the galaxy and resources are being taken, and it's just something we really need to watch out for as a species to continue. Every race, every species, every creed, we need to watch out for this. When we're tearing planets apart to get to these, it really starts to question what's happening. And then now you got to question, are you getting a synthetic crystal? You know, has this crystal been attempted to be bled? Is it cracked? Am I going to need venting in my lightsaber hilt? It really gets to be a whole lot of questions. So resource mining and planet mining is definitely something that we need to watch out for. Do we have a fourth nail, Professor? Oh, we do. This is going to be a close race, you guys. Boom. He told me to turn this over, and that's what we're going to do. Ladies and gentlemen, here's our fourth nail, and I know it's not just this name. We won't say it here out loud. But falling into the wrong hands. This is technology that the enemy can use for destruction. And we're talking planetary destruction. You get enough of these bad boys in a large weapon, forget about it. You got planet killer weapons. And then we're relying on the Jedis to take care of this. I mean, this is definitely a nail. And it's, even though we got it listed fourth here, we should definitely consider this to be one of the worst ones on the list. It's huge. So we've got 4 needs. We've got 4 nails. That's balance in the force right there, right? We've got the good and the bad. We've got the light and the dark. Well, we're going to finish this off. And number 5, what this represents. Yep, that's a need. That's right, folks. I'm telling you right now, the Jedi. The Jedi Order is what this represents. How can you have something, a group that have fought for so long for peace in the galaxy, that have done things over the years and over the many years of helping and nurturing through the cosmos? What these represent, 100%, folks, is the Jedi Order. It represents good. It represents doing the right thing. It represents stoicism, heroism. Whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're an alien race or a humanoid, whether you're a Jedi or, well, we won't say the other part because that's going to be negative. But honestly, folks, the biggest thing that we need to remember, 100%, I mean, without any questions asked, is what this represents in our hearts. And if we can come up with something good for this, then at the end of the day, we're doing it right. Now, I promised you guys that I was going to fire this bad boy up, but before I do so, there is a little bit of information that I wanted to share with you. My producer and I were speaking, and earlier in the video, we spoke about the planet or the person or the individuals who now own most of the technology on the lightsabers. I was under the impression this was some kind of mouse-looking thing, but Professor, in his deep imagination, he thinks that this is actually a planet with possibly 2 moons or 2 suns rotating very close to it. I don't know, guys. I still see a mouse. I don't know what it is. So however you pronounce it, whether it was Disney or Daisney or Doosney or Disney, I don't know. But, that's where the credit's going right now. And let's just hope that whoever this is, whatever rune this is, whatever it really represents, let's hope, beyond hope, that they take care of this patent that they now own and they do justice to it. And let's hope that, again, like we said, I don't know who it was, but it was a Lucas maybe, that is now with or was or is. I'm not sure how this all works. But what we'll do is we'll write that down here as well. So regardless of which way that you want to look at this, whichever old piece of tech or old holocron that you find, or however we decide who's responsible for this now, or whatever we do, whether this was the beginning and this is where we're at now, whether they're working together, whether this is a mouse or planets, doesn't really matter. What we know 100% is that either both of them or all of them combined or one of them is responsible for making sure that this continues for many, many, many millennia to come, and that it becomes even more synonymous with hope and more synonymous with everything good. And with that, folks, like always, you can find us on most social media apps by searching for @CarrierBarry all across the galaxy. Just look for our logo. Until next time, E.D.C. family, keep those blades sharp, keep those flashlights charged, and keep those band-aids close. And remember, you are your best tool in your E.D.C. loadout. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Oh, wait. We were going to turn this on for you. Almost forgot. Well, we don't want to break anything. Woo! Almost broke the kitchen here. I don't know, folks. Get it under camera for you. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, I tell you what, folks. It's got a kick. There she is, for all her glory. Hope you like it. There she is, in all her glory. You thought we forgot. Let me tell you this, folks. Ooh, yeah. Now remember, as always, you can find us on most social media by searching for @CarrierBerry. Just look for our logo. I think Professor will put it somewhere over here for you. Be careful, almost lost a finger there. Now, until next time, E.D.C. family, keep those blades sharp, keep your flashlights charged, and keep those band-aids close. Remember, you are your best tool in your E.D.C. loadout. God bless, and see you next time.